Hello and welcome to Cache In On I.T, your go-to podcast for all things information technology at MCC. My name is Art Brown. I'm the Dean of IT at MCC, and I'm thrilled to guide you on this exciting journey through the dynamic world of IT. Together we'll explore the latest trends, innovations, and success stories within our department, giving you an insider's look at what makes our IT community thrive. Throughout our various episodes, we'll shine spotlights on the incredible talent of our faculty, dedication of our staff, and some of the ambitious spirits of our students. We welcome you to sit back, relax, listen to our seasoned IT professionals and aspiring students as we begin this journey on our podcast. Today I'm happy to have two of our esteemed employer partner guests with us today. I have Alicia Huntington and Lisa Marshall from Mutual of Omaha. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
We're so glad to have you guys today. The scope of our discussion will be to talk about the scope of our partnership with MCC and Mutual of Omaha. And I'm gonna, we'll tag team. I'm gonna have you both maybe tell a little bit about yourself to the audience, and then we'll kind of jump into the detailed questions, and again, it'll be a back and forth dialogue. So Alicia, I'm looking at you first.
Yes.
If you can kind of just maybe first tell a little bit about your professional background, how long you've been at Mutual, what brought you to the company, and then anything else you care to share with the audience.
Yeah, so I've been with Mutual of Omaha for about 10 years now. My background is actually in finance and sales, but that's how I started my career at Mutual of Omaha for 5 years. In the last 5 years, I have been able to support and now lead our IS internship program, and then also support our local educator partnerships. So it's just been a fun program to be a part of and really see it grow and develop over these last 5 years.
Gotcha, thank you so much. And then Lisa, yourself, please.
My name is Lisa Marshall, and I have been with Mutual of Omaha for 30 years.
Gotcha.
I started out as an intern, and that's what I guess really encourages me to continue to support internships at Mutual of Omaha.
Right.
If you start at a company that way and it ends up being the company you work at for a 30-year career, it's something you want to kind of give back and help the students, other students maybe see the place they can have at Mutual.
Right.
So I've worked in a variety of different departments, all within IS. I've done a little bit of application development area, I've worked in an infrastructure area, I worked for a year in an architecture area, and right now I'm manager of a database services support team.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for sharing, both of you. So again, kind of the point of this session is to kind of share with our students and community as a whole how the partnership evolved with MCC and Mutual. And Alicia, I'm going to maybe look to you. If you can share some details with the audience, how this partnership came to be and any highlights that you maybe want to share early on.
Yeah, so back in 2017, one of our officers had identified that we were having some difficulties getting experienced applicants to apply for the positions that we had open at that time. Through realizing that, he came up with an idea of how do we maybe partner with some of our local community partners to figure out how we can maybe get students in the door here and then help grow and develop their skills. So through that idea, met with other leaders at Mutual of Omaha and came up with what about reaching out to Metro to see if there's a way that we can partner with them and use their students for that pipeline of talent. So from that, we met with Metro, agreed that a partnership would be mutually beneficial. And in 2017, I think we had 30 applicants from Metro, and of that, I think we placed, it was about 10 to 15 students in, mostly technical students, but in a variety of areas. From that time, again, I think it was 2017, I think 80% of those individuals are still with Mutual of Omaha, and they're still in a variety of areas, whether it's in management now or senior analyst or engineering type roles. So we've definitely seen the benefit of the partnership, and then also recognizing when you bring students on and support them through an internship type program, they are more likely to stay with you and to continue and grow and develop in their career, and stay at Mutual of Omaha.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's I did happen to be a part of that initial class, and so it's just for me, a personal rewarding thing to see a company like Mutual of Omaha taking a chance on our students. And frankly, there's a misconception or perception that two-year students are not maybe where you might see a four-year IS&T grad or IT grad or CS grad. And it was, I think, monumental that Mutual took a chance on us, and it seems to have worked out really well. So thanks for sharing that with the audience. So Alicia, I'm sorry, can you go a little bit further? So you kind of touched on what some of the areas that interns work in. Can you maybe take a little bit deeper dive on some of the areas that you guys actively recruit in?
Yeah, so we recruit a variety of different roles and within a variety of different areas within our entire information services organization. So within the different roles that we currently recruit for, we have interns that we're recruiting in application development roles, business analyst roles, database administration roles, security, and we do offer some data science opportunities as well. So we really have a variety of different types of opportunities for students. We really want to identify where their interest and passion lies and make sure that we're lining that up with the teams who have requested interns to make sure we're providing them with the right, a best of fit as we can up front when we get them in the door. And then with that, I guess that also goes to, we have a variety of different areas that are requesting to have interns, whether it's in a development area, within database administration, all things data, and then within our cybersecurity area as well. So we're not just recruiting one type of intern. We look for interns, different roles, different areas, and then even within different different times within where they're at within school. So if they're pursuing a 2-year program, a freshman all the way up to PhD level students, we have a wide variety that we're working with.
Okay, thanks for sharing. So Lisa, I'm going to have some questions for you momentarily, but back to just your basic criteria, Alicia. So I recall you've shared with me in the past that when you all look for candidates, they're competing with students literally all over the country. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Gotcha. And then also, I think I recall you sharing that you don't really, I want to say, lessen the expectation for our 2-year students that they have to come in ready to compete with that whole broad spectrum of applicants that you might be considering. So I just wanted to share that with the audience. I think it's good for our students and anyone else listening to know that you're not dumbing down the requirements or expectations for our students.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. We want to make sure that, when we're comparing everybody, that we're making sure that they're also going to be able to come into the internship and be successful. I wouldn't want somebody to come into the intern program just because we have a partnership, but maybe be a little less prepared because they're not going to have a good experience either. So we want to make sure that when we are looking at students, that we're doing it from a level playing field. Right.
And can we go a little bit deeper too? So just, mainly for the students that might be listening to this episode, what are some basic things they might expect to encounter through the screening process? What are some things is there a 1 or 2 step process that any applicant might expect to experience?
Yeah, so our application process is pretty straightforward. It's, you submit your application. When we respond back with how we're going to move forward, if we decide to move forward with the interview, it's just we just do one 30-minute interview that includes both non-technical and technical questions. I would say both of those areas are really looking at how you're answering those questions. I would say both, like for the students who are maybe preparing for their interviews, thinking about how you're answering questions in that STAR method of situation, task, action, result. And how you're answering your behavioral and your technical questions in that matter, because as an intern, you're not expected to know everything technically, but I want to understand how you go about problem solving and how eager you are about learning new things, because this is our opportunity to teach you. So I don't expect you to come in knowing everything. We're not hiring you as an engineer. We're hiring you as an intern to come in and learn. But that's really what we're looking at in that interview process, is that full how you go about fully answering a question and really walking through like your problem solving and the results.
Okay, and that's very helpful. And we do, and we'll get into it here momentarily, but I think it's good for the audience and specifically students that are listening, that situational interview, STAR method, Google it, it's out on YouTube. So if you're not prepared, if you're listening, definitely, and we definitely work with our students on that model for sure. So let me see, a few more questions. And Lisa, I'm going to direct this one to you a little bit. And I've got to give Lisa huge credit on this because we've been working with you guys, I would say Mutual of Omaha, since 2017 roughly. And I feel like we've had a breakthrough as of recent. Huge credit to Lisa. And she kind of gave us this vision about how we can help pre-screen folks or candidates that might be interested. And we've coined the phrase as speed interview process. And Lisa gave us this epiphany. And Lisa, if you can maybe share with the audience what that looks like. I remember we had some email exchanges about your recommendations on how we can kind of get there, but feel free to jump in. Yeah.
So what we found is when we went through an interview process that students maybe hadn't gone through that professional experience before. So what we were interested in is how can we potentially give them an opportunity to try without fear and go through an interview process in advance. And how does academia differ from a professional kind of interview or presentation? So what we did is we worked closely with members of your team to come up with let's create a PowerPoint presentation because we live in a world in corporate, America where you have presentations all the time. Even in the technical positions, you have to be able to communicate effectively. So asking the students to create just a 4 or 5 slide presentation, just talking about their learning journey, what they liked about the career field they chose, what experiences they had, what some of their bigger projects and successes were, and just to talk about it end to end a little bit and open up. Because what we have found is the interns that work out the best on our team in particular are the ones that can communicate effectively. So by asking them to prepare, have a presentation, even if it's just talking about themselves, which is an easy conversation and a topic to have, it was a great opportunity before they ever entered the actual interview process through our internship program to at least have had a first shot at it. And as a hiring manager, I got a great opportunity to take a look at the students before they sent resumes in that would have come in cold or just on paper.
And it's been a great process. Frankly, we've rebranded it, coined it, we're using it with other employer partners. So huge thanks to you, Lisa, for just giving us that idea. Lisa, can I jump back to you a little bit? Maybe you mentioned your role now as a department manager for a DBA team. Can you share a little bit more about what your team does specifically, if you don't mind?
Sure. I have a team of 15 members on my staff, and we do a variety of types of support for SQL Server, Oracle, and UDB. 3 different database formats. We do on-prem management of database more so than in the cloud at this point. There are other teams within Mutual of Omaha that does that. But on our team, we do the typical database administrative type roles, functions, but we also have an automation group. So I have 2 dedicated engineers that do automation because a lot of the efficiency gains and expectations are how do we take those repeatable processes and how do we maybe optimize them through automation coding. So I have 2 engineers on my team as well as DBAs that kind of help partner together. And my DBAs are actually writing automation code. So they're blending some of the other side of their IT skills along with their database administration to really help optimize the environment. But they do the same old school things for DBAs though. They create databases, they do upgrades, they do migrations, they do patching, they create views, objects, all of those things. But we're continuing to expand technical skills and engineering skills to enable them to become a little bit broader than just the typical DBA role.
Gotcha. So to that point, just taking it further, again, you've given us ideas on how to expand the pre-screening process for your team, and more so for the audience's sake that not only do we invite employers like Mutual of Omaha, but specifically you also have input on curriculum. And so I know you sat in on a couple of we call them, used to be advisory boards, now business industry leadership teams. Can you, I recall a couple of visits when you shared with us, like maybe we might have been considering going off course, and we look at holistically multiple institutes or multiple companies, but because you've been such a great partner, we really take great heed in what Mutual says. And I don't know if you recall one of the times we were looking at maybe some curriculum deviations or changes, and you gave us some input. If you could maybe elaborate on, maybe at a baseline level, what technically you're looking for at a baseline, and maybe how Metro is able to complement some of your talent needs.
So what I've really appreciated about the relationship that we've had over the past, it's been at least 5 or 6 years that I've been working with Metro Tech in this capacity of advisor partnership. And you guys have been very generous in allowing us opportunities to put and lend some opinion into the curriculum formation and development and evolution. And that's really important because at times what we're finding is a lot of the students coming out of traditional education institutions are only being taught on current contemporary technologies. And large employers across the entire country and across the world have a blend, especially the older companies, of older technologies and newer ones. So having the opportunity to have a local voice, to hear that, well, we have pipelines for all those newer technologies from some of the broader education institutions. We're really looking for something that has some foundational elements that are going to be around in our company for another probably 30, 40 years that still need support. So having the opportunity to talk a little bit about, again, specifically like SQL Server or Oracle or even IBM's UDB, we're going to have this technology for years. So instead of Metro Tech going down the path of all that new stuff that everybody else is teaching, we were saying, let's balance that with some of that legacy platform information and technology needs that we're still going to have for 30, 40 years that I need people, as people are retiring, to backfill.
Right, and we listen. And I think it's
I have appreciated it.
Yeah, we listen for sure.
I have
And thanks
appreciated
for
it.
sharing that. So, so this is both to Alicia and you, Lisa. If you guys can share, if you recall, success stories. I know some, and anecdotally both have shared with me, but I think it will be good for our audience to hear as a whole. If any stand out, any students, I think, Alicia, to what you've alluded to, sounds like you have an 80% retention rate with interns in general, and I think it's our MCC students. Is that correct?
That was just with the group that
The
we
first
brought in
group,
in 2017. Is that they still 80% of those individuals are still here. Within our intern program. Just generally speaking, we have a goal of retaining 95% of our graduating interns. So it's a real. If you're in our intern program, it is a real talent pipeline for our entry level talent. That's typically how you get your foot in the door with Mutual of Omaha, is through the intern program. So,
Gotcha. And then I guess specifically, Lisa, on your team, if you can share, I know we've had some really great success stories on your team, maybe the good, maybe the ones that left some opportunities on the table. We can, to the extent you can share, if you don't mind. Yeah.
In particular, because of my role as manager of the database services team, I've had the opportunity over the past 5-6 years to have actually had MCC students from the database administration program for 5 different individuals. And each person, we've had great opportunities with to learn from a program perspective what opportunities could MCC get as coaching for curriculum changes, corrections. And some of them have been very successful. Right now I have 3 placements that have been over the last 3 years, and each one of them are doing exceptionally well on my team. They all started, and one of them in particular has gone through the speed interviewing process. And that was so important because it gave us an opportunity to really hear about the breadth of his experiences before we saw the paper and resume. But all 3 of them are doing really well. One went on after the 2-year degree to get a 4-year degree. He's going to be graduating now coming up in December, and he's working out great. And each of them are progressing at a much faster pace through our career kind of progression, from an entry-level IT intern to a technical specialist to an associate DBA to a DBA, and they're fast-tracking through it because they picked a program that was specialized in what they were interested in and what we needed. So we are really having great success, and definitely with the 3 people on my team that came from that. So
good to hear that, and I'm hoping our students are hearing that and listening, that there are true success stories. So
absolutely.
Gotcha. So for both of you, let's see. So probably, Alicia, to you, how has the internship program overall, the partnership as we would describe it, would you rank it a success if you're putting you on the spot a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's a success. for Mutual of Omaha, we've gotten some really great qualified candidates who have been able to, after the intern program, progress through their career. I know, like, if we're looking for something very specific, or just in general, even if it's kind of outside of our normal recruiting timelines, you guys are definitely first to reach out to say, hey, do you guys have any students that you would recommend that might, fit this need? So yeah, and it's definitely, being able to support just the local community college by showing up and participating in the career fairs, giving the students the opportunity to interact with us, and whether it's just going through some of the speed interviews, just to even get that practice, I think is something that benefits the students and also benefits us for just awareness, just to continue to put ourselves out there to support.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing. So this one's for both of you. Can you recall, either anecdotally or just in general, or in particular, a student that may have provided either of you success or feedback about their being accepted to the internship program, and pros, cons? I mean, I know there's internal things that you maybe can't share, but like hopefully successful things that you can share that students have given you, or even up at the upper level and your senior management level. Hopefully they're noticing that we're providing a pipeline of talent for you all. If anything you can share on those lines would be great.
The students in particular that I've hired on have given very positive feedback about the internship process, the speed interviewing, a combination of the fact that they were looked at and had an opportunity to get exposure to Mutual through our partnership in a way that they might not have to cold interviewing at other places. So from that perspective, the students that have the specialized degree that I'm really looking for, having this partnership has really been something they've talked very positively about.
Good to hear. Gotcha. Alicia, do you have any, not to put you on the spot, but if you can recall, if not, no problem. So.
Recall any students
any
that
student feedback you may have gotten.
Yeah. I mean, we always get a ton of student feedback in regards to the intern program, but it is like, once you're able to get your foot in the door, I mean, the internship really does provide you the opportunity to, like, if you're applying for the DBA position, it gives you the opportunity to learn more about what that actual career, what that career is, what the progression actually looks like. I think Lisa does a great job of, when she's meeting with those students, really setting the expectation of, like, I want somebody who's like interested, really excited about this, excited about this career. So when we're bringing in the DBA students, I think they really understand that this is, if I'm meeting the expectations, this is a real opportunity. So I think students are very surprised and excited about that it is a real hiring potential for them. Outside of that area, I think just bringing on interns from Metro who have fallen outside of that area, just realizing that they have the exposure not only to maybe one area, but getting the opportunity to maybe rotate and get exposure to other areas as well, to get maybe a more well-rounded experience. When we bring interns in, we really want to understand what motivates them, what they're excited about, so that way we're finding the right opportunity for them, because if we do that, we're typically going to get those interns who do really well and then want to stay with us for a really long time. So
yeah, and I think to me that's one of the great things about your program, is that you really try to find the right fit for the student, but not only your team as well. So, and you pivot if there's an opportunity to do so for students. So thank you all for being flexible in that regard. So again, for both of you, to the extent you're able to share, do you have any maybe future expansion plans, or maybe Alicia, more to you, can you share on average, how many interns Mutual brings in, IS interns that you bring in each year, and is that going to be a sustainable number for the foreseeable future? I know, the economy ebbs and flows, but anything you can share? Yeah,
I would say we have consistently, though, through the last 5 years, have seen on average each year between around like maybe 50 interns come through the program throughout the entire year. We do bring, we have our traditional summer internship program, which is the 12 weeks through May through August. But beyond that, if for those interns who are, really exceeding expectations, we do offer the opportunity for the year-round internship. So that's why I say we typically, like, throughout the entire year, have 50 but that can, depending upon where we're at, that can ebb and flow. I would say that has been sustainable for us over, like I said, like at least the last 5 years. I don't hear of any plans of it changing. I do know that we continue to focus here locally and how can we recruit, retain local talent, and just figuring out how we, how can we continue to do that and how can we continue to do that successfully. So we're always looking for opportunities to continue to engage and interact with students to build those relationships.
Okay, thanks for sharing. So I know, Lisa, I know you've shared with me, we've spoken on occasion, and you've given kind of an outlook for your particular department, but I guess maybe to both of you, but Alicia in particular, to the extent you can share, like, recruiting season is coming up for IT. For our listeners, if there's an area that maybe is heightened demand for Mutual of Omaha right now, talent-wise, are you able to, like, we might be more interested in this caliber of intern with these skill sets, if you can share any of those details? I
mean, I would say we're normally pretty heavy on like the application development, developer roles, more looking, for a full stack type opportunity. We don't have as many, say, front end opportunities as we do like the full stack, and some back end opportunities. We do have not as many, but we do have multiple opportunities available in our security area as well. So yeah, it's still just a variety, but still heavy in the development area.
Sounds good. Okay. And then maybe one final question for you both is, just in general, I think you've shared a lot today, but if there were maybe a parting statement you'd want to leave with the audience and maybe student listeners in particular, maybe one or two things they can do to set themselves apart, or, not only for a company like Mutual, but just in general, if there's any wisdom you might want to share with the audience on that front.
I would suggest there needs to be not only a passion for what you do, kind of have an idea of which field of IT you would like to be in, but don't, I guess, how do you say this? Don't lessen the impact or the importance of communication skills.
Gotcha.
The people that will be the most successful are the ones that come in and can be part of a team.
Okay.
No one is going to work independently. No one operates, alone in a silo. Success comes as team success. And so a lot of students that might be introverted, a lot of my staff is introverted, and by nature, many IT folks may be, but we cannot do this job without other people, and we have to be part of a team. So the best way to be successful, and those that will be the most successful, are those that can communicate, interact skills with each other, be part of a team, and be willing to give and take and share. That's so important.
Gotcha. We hear it so often from other employers, so it's good that our audience and hopefully those students listening will take that to heart. I'm hoping they do. Alicia, anything you might want to add to that?
Yeah, I think as we're approaching the fall recruiting season and everybody's going to be submitting their resumes out to a lot of companies and hopefully landing some interviews from that, I would say the market is extremely competitive right now. So making sure if you land an interview to show up prepared for your interview. Don't think that you're going to be able to wing it and get by. Be prepared to answer the questions that you know you're going to get asked. So that way you have those answers down. So if you get asked a question that you're not ready for, you have the capacity and the time to really be thoughtful in answering those questions. It is just, for example, last year we recruited for 25 spots. We had 1,200 applicants. So if you're wanting to land one of those positions, you really just need to nail the interview. So not coming prepared to the interview will definitely not help you out. So just making sure you're prepared, you know your resume, and definitely do your homework on the company and the position that you're applying for.
Right. So one last question, I guess, expanding that. So you mentioned app developers, and I get this question a lot, and I'm sure our faculty do. The preparedness piece, is there, I'm often asked by students, what can I do to help prepare? There's really no, your interview process or screening process is one interview, and is there an application or applied portion? I think we've talked about this before, but maybe on those particular app developer intern roles, can you maybe elaborate a little bit more? Like if I'm a student wanting to prepare any tips you can maybe give them?
Yeah, I would definitely just come prepared to, so if you're thinking about like how you might answer a technical question, thinking about any individual or student like group projects that you've worked on, come prepared to explain what that project was, explain what your role responsibility was, explain any problems or obstacles that you faced, how you overcame those challenges and what the result was, and being really focused on what your role and responsibility was within that project. Again, you're coming on as an intern, so I don't need to know about like you have this whole breadth of technical skills. You probably don't, but I want to understand, and going back to how you communicate, I want to understand what the project was, how you overcame that challenge, how you found that solution, and what the end result was, and really being able to communicate that. But yeah, focusing probably on your projects and still, speaking to the technical tools, frameworks, languages that you use throughout.
Gotcha. So one last question, I promise. So for you both, Lisa and Alicia, portfolios, that's a question I get asked often too. So obviously for app developer intern potentially, is that something you weigh heavily? And then Lisa, for your team as well, does that make a difference? I don't want to minimize it, but do you weigh that in your decision factor? If you have two strong candidates, if one has maybe a working portfolio in the DBA space, I don't know, can you quantify, or is that something even important in your screening process?
For what we look at, if they have any prior experiences specific in a database space, some of the best candidates that have come in maybe have taken some extra training on their own, extra certifications on their own. They may have built a lab inside their own house. It doesn't always have to be the professional specific examples. It's coming in showing the initiatives in the space that they're passionate about. What have they done? If they haven't had the opportunity for that particular lane for a prior employment opportunity, thus the internship, at least talk about the differences and the types of initiatives you've taken to do something a little bit more, the stand out a little bit different. And as they're preparing for their interviews or their resumes, develop a list of this example, this example, this example, this example. Try and look back at your portfolio of projects within your curriculum and find the 4 or 5 that are most noteworthy for the position in the lane you're looking for, and have those ready, and think about the context of questions and then apply it to one of those 5 examples. But don't use the same example for every question. Have your examples ready and your different cases that highlight different attributes, and be prepared to pull any of the 5 for any kind of question.
Gotcha. Thank you. Alicia, any last one?
I was just going to add to that, like even if you don't have as much experience, whether it's through previous internships or maybe not as many projects within school, but if you're doing something outside of that, you can definitely showcase that on your resume if you're providing a link to if it's like GitHub or something like that. I would say if that is something you're going to use, make sure that it's up to date. So like if you're putting stuff like that out there, making sure that, because I do have people like managers who will be like, oh, they put this on their resume. I went and looked at it and it doesn't look like they've touched it in 7 months. So just making sure that everything is up to date. That would include a LinkedIn profile, but it doesn't necessarily just come down to like the professional experience. If you're taking the initiative to do stuff outside of school, outside of an internship, or just to build on your own knowledge and you're doing stuff on your own, definitely pull from that and share that and make sure that we're aware of that when you get that interview.
Thank you both so much. Invaluable information, so I hope our student audience listeners are paying attention. You guys have given some great and valuable information. Thank you both. I just appreciate you so much coming to kind of share, Mutual of Omaha, the experiences, the successes, and so happy to have you here today. Any parting comments any last comments or any questions of me you might want to pose?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you for the continued partnership. It's obviously been such a success, and to the students coming up, good luck.
Yeah, so we're excited.
It's an exciting time.
Yeah, recruiting season's coming up, so we're super excited. Yeah, we're glad to have you guys join us again this coming fall. So thank you both for coming, and thanks to our audience for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode of Cache In On I.T. Thank you.